Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our next Galactic Ambassadors podcast, where we introduce our latest certified practitioners. And in today's podcast, we introduce Taylor Ann Norris, based in Hawaii, who is now certified as Galactic Astrology soul reader. And I'm excited about having this opportunity to learn about her background story. She offers a variety of beautiful modalities. So I'm just so grateful that she's adding galactic astrology to her treasure box. Taylor's website is taylornorrisreiki.com. So we'll learn more about that. Welcome, Taylor, and super well done on reaching this milestone.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful and happy to be here with you and everyone who's watching.
Likewise, just yesterday we had a full moon in Libra, and I noticed you recorded beautiful guided Reiki healing meditation that incorporated galactic astrology. You brought in the fixed stars that were aligned with this full moon, the moon and the sun, and it just made my heart sing that we have something like that available. It was really beautifully done, totally channeled, uplifting, high vibrational guidance, connection. It was just amazing. I shared it on my social media, and I look forward to your future creations. Really, really beautifully done.
Thank you so much for sharing. I'm so happy you enjoyed that. And yeah, that's every full moon. I take my time to do that for myself and for whoever is guided to tune in. And I've noticed the more I integrate the astrology with the Reiki and allow that to come through in the channeling, the healing that's possible is so profound, the guidance that's possible, and the empowerment, really, because we're having these star alignments and the moon is really highlighting that and giving us a chance to connect more with that. So I'm just happy to take advantage of it and to have this awareness to be able to share in this way.
My soul is literally doing happy dance, describing all that. I'm just so thrilled to see the many different kind of hybrid creations of just amazing modalities that come together. And it's just such a beautiful manifestation of the age of Aquarius, where we are taking things to the next level and just going with the flow, following the excitement, the joy, and of course then the impact of it can be profound. So thank you for following your joy in such a beautiful way. So Taylor, we're curious about your spiritual journey. When did it start? How it led you to this point? Can you share a little bit about your upbringing or how you got to all this?
Sure. Well, as a child, I'm an only child, so spending a lot of time alone, a lot of time with animals. And I was naturally communicating with animals, communicating with elementals, feeling very connected to nature, feeling very connected to those beyond the veil, and also channeling stories coming from my dreams and from my guides. I had very active relationships with my guides and invisible friends and, all of the classic trademarks of the psychic child. And this was all, so lit up and so real for me. I had this really rich inner world. And slowly, as time and conditioning and programming and, I learned to be good, I need to kind of shut that part down, cover it up, focus more on just the material world and, being successful and achieving, focusing on my studies and my sports and all of this. So, yeah, I had the initiation experience of Pluto actually crossing my ascendant in high school and college. So this was a very profound time of dark night of the soul and confronting a lot of shadows, a lot of my unconscious, and really having this kind of underworld type experience that, led me to this rock bottom moment in my early 20s. I really started climbing out of that step by step. And in 2012, we had all these powerful alignments, and it was this big year. And it was for me in this moment, I really decided this was my game changer. This was my turn around, my lifestyle point. It felt like a lifestyle 180, really, that I was walking away from, the partying kind of lifestyle, drinking and drugs and really short-term pleasure, and only focusing on material acquisition, material success, and these kinds of things. All the ways I kind of pushed down my authentic self. I decided it's time to change. It's really time to heal myself. And, that's really when my healing journey began and my spiritual journey began. And I was so fortunate and blessed because, thanks to all my past lives as a yogi, when I was 15, I was taken to my first yoga class. So during that whole very difficult time, I had yoga as this way to support me, as a healthy coping mechanism, as this way to really start dropping into my body more, dropping more into who I am. And it was really an anchor for me. So I continued with that. In 2012, with my awakening, I went vegan. I studied Ayurveda. I, began a lot of therapy and healing work, studying more of yoga, meditation, Ayurveda. I was studying psychology as an undergraduate, and then I studied psychology at the graduate level as well in a very mainstream doctorate program. And it was really funny because I was there, reading books on Carl Jung in my spare time and wanting to study, that part of psychology more than just the mainstream work. And it was so funny because the classes wouldn't even really talk about that. He was just mentioned. And the same for in my neuroscience classes, the chapters I was most excited about studying were the ones on consciousness. And the teacher, I remember in the first week said, "Oh, we're not going to cover that one because we don't really understand consciousness." And I was like, oh my God, this is not the right place for me. It was not the right place for me. And during that time, it was really interesting because my higher self showed me the future timeline. If you stay in this, if you finish your doctorate, if this is the path you walk, this is what it's going to look like. I did not like what I saw. It was not for me. So I completely changed gears, took a leap of faith. And, in my spare time in grad school, I was studying holistic health and nutrition and raw food, and also getting more of a flavor for a new age spirituality. This whole world opened up to me about crystals and metaphysics and auras and astral projections and all the different kinds of readings you can get and psychic fairs. And so, yeah, I really felt compelled to follow my guidance, follow what I was receiving in meditations as I was healing myself. And so I moved to Hawaii at that point and started practicing holistic health as a coach to others, and received a certification in that, and received additional training in India as a yoga instructor. And it was so interesting during my Saturn return, the nodal reversal. So when the transiting north node of the moon is where the natal south node is, and the transiting south node is where the natal north node is. This is a moment we get right before our Saturn return, typically, where it's the past and the present and the future have all collapsed in one time. So I was guided during that time to go to India and study at the ashrams. And I was like, I could just stay here forever. It's so nice. But again, that was not, the guidance was like, no, you just needed to like learn this and remember this and take this back. This isn't a lifetime to hang out at an ashram the whole time. It's like, okay. And my next guidance was to go to a Tibetan Buddhist abbey in Nova Scotia, Canada, Ani Pema Chodron's Abbey. This was a fantastic experience. I took temporary monastic vows there, thought I was going to be a Buddhist nun. And it was so interesting. The cohort I joined was the Year of the Dragon. In this lineage, they work with the tiger, the snow lion, the Garuda, which is like a flying, like eagle type creature, and then the dragon. And it's just so interesting that I was called to go back there and having all these past life memories come up of being a nun, being a monk, being a leader, being a part of that lineage. I received the guidance, being there again, Taylor, you're just here to remember this part of your past, but not to stay. Your path, you're needed elsewhere. It's not to be at an abbey. You need to be out in the world helping in that way. You can still live like a monastic if you want, but just out in the world. Shortly after I, kind of cleared and culminated that path, I found Reiki, or Reiki found me. And this was like just immediate soul resonance, complete resonance. Like, I know this energy so deeply, so fully. It feels like home. It feels like love, like safety, like that connection I was really looking for. And it made my meditation practice like the most pleasurable thing ever. So I added that into my services along with holistic health coach, practicing Reiki and giving Reiki sessions. And the more Reiki sessions I was doing, the more my intuition was opening as well. Because I wanted to do as many Reiki sessions as I possibly could, because I was so fascinated by the energy, by the healing, the results people were getting, but also like what was opening in me when I was working with people. And it got to the point where I was, writing pages and pages in a session, in like a distance session of information for people. It's like, what is this? How can I develop this more? So I've taken a lot more trainings and classes to keep developing that. This question kept calling me of understand divine timing. Like, what is divine timing? What are these cycles, these larger cycles we're in? And what are all these natural and cosmic laws all about? And that's where Reiki led me to astrology. It was right around, I had a solar eclipse on my Ascendant, which is marvelous. Right after that, it was the solstice and the great conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn, 0 Aquarius. And that for me was like, okay, it's time to like dive into astrology deep. And I haven't stopped studying since then and practicing and doing all the charts of family and friends, and then doing all the charts of everyone I do Reiki on, wanting to share astrology with them. So I started combining that in with my Reiki, but not quite feeling confident to put it as a separate service just yet because I didn't have a certification. And that's where, the divine alignment came through for me to find this course and receive this certification, feel fully confident, aligned with offering the astrology separately. So I had heard your interview with Pam Gregory and felt, very activated by it and like, whoa, this is a whole other dimension I need to check out. And I kept following your work after that. And I just kept waiting because I had a lot of other things going on again, Gemini moon, like if I say yes to every course I want to do, it would be way too much. It's already borderline too much. So I was waiting. And then for some reason I was looking at the royal stars. I think some archangels and royal stars were coming in my Reiki sessions, and I found Ursula's videos on the royal stars, and she was offering a discount for the course, and I was like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it now. Yeah, I said yes, and so much magic has unfolded since I said yes. And this is just the most profound type of reading to do, the most profound type of, really to drop into this multidimensional, no time, no space, all time, all space, like being in the records, being in the astrology and connecting soul to soul. And I'm able to bring in the Reiki to activate my intuition, but also to really ensure the highest information comes through and the highest healing for the person as well. So I have this intention with my sessions to, provide the healing and empowerment piece there.
So amazing. I think my cheeks are starting to hurt from the energy that you have. Is like pure sunshine, like full on blast, sunny, gorgeous Leo energy, but with the mightiness of the 8th house there. So as you were speaking, as usual, I look at the galactic astral alignments, and my goodness, again, just yet another validation of what we are teaching and how it beautifully manifests in our lives. So I just want to highlight for the viewers, if it's okay for me to share some of your alignments. First of all, your ascendant is conjunct galactic center. So that frequency, it's so intriguing when you mentioned that you had your greatest transformations when either Pluto was transiting your ascendant, or Saturn, and whatever it was, where the other, but that is your activation point and moment. And so having Stellium in the 8th house, so your sun is in early Leo, 8th house, your south node is high Leo, 8th house, Mercury and a second decan medium Leo, 8th house, your Mars high Leo, 8th house, and your vertex is also 8th house. So it's just so fitting, everything that you've experienced, that you've mentioned, and the fact that people can experience deep, profound transformation when they come in contact and when they have a session with you, because the 8th house for the newbies to astrology is all about the deep, profound transformation and deep interest or passionate interest about everything that's hidden, all the esoteric stuff, all the metaphysical, deep psychology. People who have 8th house planets placements, they're into that kind of stuff. But also, with south node in the 8th house, the years, especially in the late teens, early 20s, of the alcohol and the intensity of trying to fit in and looking for deep connect. Yeah, it's all there. And then kind of just bringing the blessings of the galactic alignments that you have there was like your saving grace through those challenging years. I've noticed you have a lot of sextiles to Arcturus, and I wonder if the Arcturian energy was maybe one of the first ones. And I associate Reiki a lot with the Arcturian energy, because it's just that it feels like Christed consciousness. It feels like Buddhic template. It feels very, just divine love that's unconditional and profoundly healing. To me, Arcturus kind of matches that frequency, and you have a lot of sextile. So when there are sextile alignments for the viewers, it usually comes as external blessings that come in from outside in to help us during important times. And it's like you have spiritual protection no matter where you are, no matter how far deep into the underworld you go. You have that blessing, the white dove above you. And I certainly felt like that. I too have a south node in the 8th house, so I can relate to that too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I do feel that. It was like in my darkest moments, there was always light. There was always something drawing me through. And what's so interesting is once I got my Reiki attunements, what I was guided to do was actually send Reiki back to all of those moments in my past. So in a way, it was me giving myself, the past self, that light and that encouragement. You're channeling this Arcturian energy, channeling this Christ consciousness back to myself. And I always encourage my students to do that too, that, whenever they finally do take a Reiki class, to think about the toughest moments in their life where they can't imagine how they really got through, but they did. And I was like, send Reiki to those times. It was you.
Major goosebumps. I've never expressed this out loud, but I've experienced this realization. I swear, like I felt my future self in my past most difficult moments helping me. And it's something that you realize when you get to that point where you're actually consciously accessing that level of wisdom and consciousness, and you feel how there is sameness or likeness of that guidance actually being there for you in the past. It's hard to explain until you experience it, but totally. Thank you so much for voicing that.
Yeah, the future self, I've really been very interested in connecting with the future self as well, and bringing that energy into the present and contacting her for her wisdom and what I can know from my highest, most involved aspect. And yeah, it's funny, knowing in my present how much I've sent to the past. It's like I know my future self is just sending even stronger, more powerful healing to my present self. Like it keeps upgrading, through this linear kind of looking at time. It's phenomenal. It's really phenomenal.
I love that. That's your North Node in Aquarius speaking, calling in the future into now. That's totally how we're going to live in just a very short amount of time. I mean, it's already here with us, and it'll just keep on spreading as a consciousness that is just normal to people. Yeah. Oh, I love that. I recall a group workshop I did when I felt guided to create a circle. Everyone was standing, and then we consciously created energetic line towards the most appropriate version of your future self that has the tools and resources that you need in the now to move towards your highest potential. It was really interesting stuff that was coming up. So cool.
Well, that's one of the things too I'm interested in looking at in the charts and in the readings, is looking at the future lives as well, and the indications of that, and tuning into that so that the clients can have a hint or a clue about what that looks like, and to start being in more conscious contact with that future self, because we can look for clues in the chart, and it's so helpful.
I love that. What comes to mind is Lisa Royal Holt's Galactic Heritage cards. If you have them, she did such a wonderful job at expressing past, present, and future consciousness of various nations. And I found that really helpful in comprehending the intention that you're saying there. And then certainly every single star system has that past, present, and future consciousness. So if you set the intention to connect to the highest timeline of your clients' alignments, then you will be drawing that into their session, into their reading. That's really awesome. What a great idea for like a special niche focus. And with your North Node in Aquarius, it's just so fitting that you're following that.
I'm so grateful I found astrology, because there is this deep need to be studying psychology still, but not in the way, of like clinical psychology like I was, but to be looking at it through astrology, which is so Aquarian, which is, archetypes and symbols and, this universal cosmic language that really resonates so deeply and is not about pathologizing. It reveals, where the challenge is, where are the things we're going to need to work through, the tension created for the soul growth, but it gives so much more of a fuller and more complete picture, especially when integrated with the intuition and the soul records and the deeper wisdom that comes through that nonlinear.
You're such a beautiful manifestation of Ascendant conjuncting Galactic Center, and then you have a few other Galactic Center, Supergalactic Center alignments, because that really is, especially on the Ascendant, it just seems to be easier to tap into what I call quantum awareness, where you are perceiving past, present, and future simultaneously, and it all makes sense. You know, people who don't necessarily have that particular alignment, they just don't operate that way until a transit comes, when something like that opens up for them. And then if you develop it, you can nurture it, and it can grow for anyone. We can all learn it. But for certain individuals, it really comes naturally. And it's beautiful that you make it your soul mission to then bring the information through, and with such a pure heart, pure intention to bring healing and advancement. It's just, what a gift.
Yeah, I mean, it was a challenging energy to work with. I don't want to sugarcoat it
Sure.
at all. At first, unconsciously, Ascendant conjunct a massive black hole. I mean, this is not easy. But then it becomes this, this void space, this connection to source, this connection to all that is, this connection to everything. But at an unconscious level is so interesting. In my earlier years, I actually experienced the black hole like that. I experienced the void like that. And it was not a pleasant experience. But now, after having a spiritual awakening and healing myself and being so committed to this healing work and this service, it's like every time I tune into that frequency, it just feels like, pure bliss consciousness, stillness. It's wonderful. But the contrast of that and realizing, wow, that my past self, when I tuned into that galactic center energy, it was terrifying. It was like existential void. But now it's like, no, it completely is a different experience. So, my heart goes out to the people with the galactic points, that they're not always easy, but they can be transmuted and they can come through at such a, as a gift, as a real gift and blessing. I do believe that all of our challenges, the things that might feel like burdens or like, oh, I'm too sensitive or I'm whatever it is, they really can all be transmuted into like our best, our tools, our treasures, our way of helping others, being of service. Yeah,
absolutely.
Really cool.
Absolutely. I today was pondering about the importance of speaking to younger audience, like students in college or even high school. Let them know about this stuff and let them have a look at their alignments and warn them that if you are really wired galactically, stay away from alcohol, stay away from drugs, stay away from taking alcohol and drugs in public spaces, because it's mad. It's really dangerous at the same time. But of course, we want to recognize divine guidance, divine timing, divine everything. Like everything is perfect as is, but it would be nice to have something like that and inspiring the young ones to wake up earlier or access their gifts earlier. I don't know, just wondering.
I think with so many more conscious parents now and all the work that the older generations have done, it really does give a chance for these kids to stay in their remembering. And I think also with Pluto and Aquarius, people are going to be driven by this, magnetic, irresistible Pluto, unconscious soul desire to check this stuff out, to consider astrology, consider their galactic connections. I think this is only going to grow and grow and grow. Like, to me, this feels like the beginning. Like we are just on the verge of, people starting to really resonate with this. I knew they already have been, but it's, like the snowball effect. And I do believe the next, 20 years of Pluto and Aquarius, as it finally makes the transition fully, people are, going to be called, like, magnetized in unexplicable ways.
That feels so reassuring. And I caught myself
Yeah.
there in an old consciousness pattern, thinking of, wanting to protect or expecting them to make same mistakes. But that's not the case. We are moving collectively, and they don't have to go through the same crazy stuff we had to go through. And certainly the generations before us, even way crazier stuff. So checkpoint there. Thanks for that. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's even come through. I've done a lot of charts recently for people with the Pluto Uranus conjunction in Virgo in the 60s. And many of them, had a later spiritual awakening, or like, oh, why am I just, finding this now? And, I feel like I should have heard about it when I was younger. I was like, no, like, thank you for all the work you did. Like, you're making it possible for the younger and younger generations now to be where we are, and like be able to, wake up earlier and earlier and stay awake and stay with this, higher consciousness, stay with this connection to the divine. But it's so funny to see how, the big transits totally bring people in. Like, it's uncanny, second Saturn returns, or, Saturn oppositions, Pluto oppositions. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yesterday, I was reflecting on my past, and I was going through all the charts through challenging points, and I transiting my Aldebaran alignment and Antares alignment. That's where I had the biggest transformations. Jupiter is my big guy. Yeah. And of course, all the others as well, but not as much as that, when I have like biggest leaps towards completely different realities. So it'd be interesting for people to look back at their major milestones in their life and astrologically see where the planets are, which houses they're in, how they're aspecting each other. It's such a wonderful way of getting a deeper understanding of astrology and transits and how they influence us.
That's what I did in my training at Dwarf Planet University with Alan Clay. He had us look at the transits with the dwarf planets, so with these Kuiper Belt objects. And that's where I started looking at those, but then I was looking at like everything for the particular time periods, and it really does reveal so much depth about, how the transits work and how all of this really plays out. I highly, highly recommend it to anyone.
That's awesome. Is there, in terms of your Galactic astrology sessions, how do you offer them? Is it a written report, in person? Can you talk a little bit about your style of delivery or service?
Sure. Yeah. What I'm doing right now is a written report that's typically, at least 15 pages or so written report. And then I'm allowing an up to 2-hour Zoom video call, because what I found is that sometimes people who are newer to astrology need more explanation of basics. And I want to allow that time, to not feel rushed and to really orient you to like, what is going on? What are we doing here? Have kind of a teaching moment and be able to present the information in context so people can really, integrate it fully. So that's what I am offering right now, is the written report and the live call. In case the discount is still there, check out. I was offering 40% off the session, the QSG session. And so if that's there still, definitely take advantage of it, because it might not be there much longer.
I love that. Yeah, really good. Is there anything else about your sessions, or any intention for what kind of energy you're drawing in, or there may already be a pattern that you've recognized in terms of what types of people you do readings for?
Well, one thing I will mention is that as soon as I found your work and learned about the galactic astrology, in that time period, I was in this process of channeling a lot of new healing techniques. And one of the healing techniques that came through was this galactic ancestry Reiki journey, this multidimensional exchange of light and blessings and miracles and magic. And this is a journey that I I channeled and I wrote it all down, and I include in it all the possible constellation star alignments. So it's really reaching out to those ancestors, reaching out to those connections, descendants. I started working with it before taking the class, and now taking the classes is something I include in my sessions for me to tune in on my end. And again, to really tap into that highest timeline, to tap into those lifetimes of mastery, and to bring about the most healing and empowerment for the client at this time. So I'm using Reiki in my QSG sessions in that way. I'm looking at oracle cards too, if I feel guided, and as well as the astrology in depth. So it really is this holistic offering in that way. And for those who may have more past life trauma coming up, I do offer the Reiki sessions separately as well for deeper healing. I'm trained specifically in ancestral healing and past life healing, as well as many other aspects with Reiki. So I offer that as well. And I want to encourage too, if there's anybody who feels called to take a Reiki class, or is maybe in the QSG course, wants to open their intuition. The number one thing that really started opening my intuition, well, Kundalini yoga was a very good one, but Reiki has opened my intuition to new levels and opened my spirit to more remembering who I am. So if someone's looking for a very soft, very gentle, very beautiful way of opening your intuition, I highly recommend a Reiki class, and I do teach those online. So I want to offer that to this community as well. They're holy fire Reiki classes, world peace Reiki energy. And it's like a very Christ consciousness type of energy that's just so lovely. Yeah.
I wholeheartedly agree. I witness my husband Marek when he does his Reiki for so many years, and I can see exactly, I can testify. It's absolutely like that. Oh, such a gift. I'm so grateful that you're guided to come join our community, and I will subscribe. Well, I already subscribe, but I will keep an eye out on your creations, your gifts, and really excited to hear the many new stories and just new ways of delivering just divine blessings to people who are ready to receive them, right?
Absolutely. That's the key. There just has to be that free will permission. That's all that's needed. And I think more and more people are becoming ready. I've been very pleasantly surprised with how many people are ready for this. So exciting.
Times. We have so much to look forward to. Just hang in there, everybody. Stay high on your own supply.
Absolutely. Heaven on earth. Feel it within you. Let's create it externally. That's my mission.
Well, thank you so much, Taylor, for shining your light so beautifully with so much courage and uniqueness as you do. Is there any final message you have for our viewers before we close?
Yeah, tune into the wisdom of your heart and your guidance, and just keep following that still small voice within, following your joy, following your bliss. And even if it doesn't make sense logically, if your heart is telling you you're ready, be courageous. We're all being called to step up into more of who we truly are. And that's the only way heaven on earth, new earth, is going to become more and more physical and more the mainstream reality for everyone. It's all of us having courage. With Pluto and Aquarius, don't forget about Leo. Tune into your heart.
Such an amazing mantra. May the heaven on earth become more mainstream available, more mainstream media as well. That's really good. I love that. Powerful.
My prayer.
Much love, everyone. We'll see you again soon. Cheerio.
Aloha.